Hello one and all, this is my view of My Hero Academia, chapter 419, Design, and Holy Mother of God above. I've been theorizing for literal decades that All For One granted Shigaraki the decay quirk, because, seriously, how lucky would All For One need to get for the grandson of his greatest enemy just happen to have the most destructive quirk in the entire world, and one of the most tragic backstories in this entire series? It made absolutely no sense. But even I didn't think All For One would go this freaking far, as he basically gave Shigaraki life, encouraging his father to have a second child, encouraging his father to be abusive, to be strict, stealing his quirk, encouraging the neighbor kids not to play with Shigaraki or to play with Shigaraki, not really sure what this one panel means, and then giving him the quirk, giving him decay. Just the amount of effort this man put into it is completely and absolutely insane, and so utterly fitting for All For One. This dude, he is just next level crazy. And of course, I'm seeing a lot of people online are saying like, oh, well, this ruined Shigaraki's backstory. He was supposed to be, this ultimate pinnacle of the woes of hero society. And no, I have to disagree with that so much because, the big point where Shigaraki was betrayed by hero society was just that when he was, bloody and scared in the streets, nobody stopped to help him. And nothing in this chapter seems to imply that was All For One's doing. All For One wasn't that little lady in disguise. That was just, people stuck in hero society. People rely too much on heroes, which is something I'm going to get to later on in this video. So, yeah, Shigaraki's backstory still remains essentially the same. He still was betrayed by hero society because nobody stopped to help him. The only difference is, All For One was the one who lit the fuse that started all of this. Plus, we have the League of Villains. Every single one of them was betrayed in some way by hero society. Shigaraki doesn't need to, further hammer that point home for us to realize, like, yeah, things need to change. Things really need to change here. And what's more, just Holy Mother of God again, we found out that Shigaraki's quirk was not only created by All For One, but was stolen or copied from Overhaul. But All For One took away the ability for it to reverse its effects, essentially making a quirk that could only destroy. And that's so interesting. People are saying, well, this doesn't make any sense because Overhaul can't destroy as much as Shigaraki can. But I think like the missing half of the quirk made it unstable, made it stronger. Not to mention, Shigaraki's absolutely messed up mental state made it even worse and just made the quirk into something just so much more destructive than its original. Plus, it's entirely possible that All For One further enhanced it, found a way to make it even more deadly. We don't really know what he can do with quirks, but we've seen, the Nomu, who are some mixed mass collaboration of dozens of quirk users, so, I don't know, really hard to say. Also, I do just love the fact that in this panel, All For One is literally made up of the house that haunted Shigaraki for all these years. It is so absolutely perfect as a metaphor, like, that house has haunted me. Wait a minute, the house is All For One! Oh, I get it now! And seriously, this revelation, the fact that all of this was planned by All For One, it just breaks him. It literally shatters him into 1,000 pieces. As he realizes that he has been played this entire time, and, it's wrong. He's been wrong about everything. Though even after being shattered, he's still, in the background. He's still, screaming again and again. And I do think that's going to be important. I do think at a certain point he's going to try to break free again. He's going to try to take control of his body. And it'll essentially be him fighting inside, Deku fighting outside, to finally take down All For One once and for all. Huzzah! Anyway, though, then we have the now revived All For One in Shigaraki's super OP body, which, bad. Very, very bad. And the only reason why he didn't do this before now is essentially because he was hoping to use Shigaraki's rage, his hatred, his anger to steal One For All, but that's no longer an issue, as it seems like One For All has been destroyed. Curious. Very, very curious. He literally says, Uzuka Midoriya, how dare you destroy my One For All, my Yoichi? So, I mean, that was a whole thing. Deku was basically firing the beings of One for All into Shigaraki's core to weaken him, to break him, so he could eventually, infiltrate himself and find a way to take down Shigaraki from the inside. And that seems to have worked. All the quirk factors were destroyed as a result of it, though it's also entirely possible that they are all still alive, but they are still within Shigaraki's core, and they're going to be fighting alongside Shigaraki to take down All For One from the inside, which I would love. I would absolutely love that. Anyway, though, now All For One's big, powerful, and deadly, and Deku, he's not doing too well, as both of his arms have been fully destroyed. And he doesn't actually realize this until he tries to stand up, which I find to be honestly absolutely hilarious. I can do this. Oh, nope, I got no arms. Sorry, buddy, I can't fight. Of course, not even that's enough to actually stop him. Even after losing his freaking arms, he still wants to fight. I also love the fact that he kind of recognized, yeah, I'm probably going to lose these hands someday, because he kept fighting over and over again with his fists, even though his doctor said, dude, your arms are torn to shreds. If you keep going on, you will actually lose them. And what do you know, they were right. I mean, I'm hoping that Eri can step in at some point and build up enough of her quirk factor energy, whatever that is, to restore his body back to how it's supposed to be. I mean, maybe also restore Shigaraki back to who he was supposed to be, because, I mean, All For One especially mentioned that, Shigaraki had a quirk factor of his own at some point, and it was stolen from him, though even he didn't really seem to know what it was. So, I don't know, maybe Eri can rewind him enough to become that kid again before he was corrupted by All For One, and then he'd have his original quirk back. Maybe, I think so. Eri's powers are weird. They are so, so weird. Anyway, though, just then, as all seems lost, seems like All For One is about to kill Deku, Sero shows up. And I'm actually very glad that Deku said his name, because I would not have remembered it otherwise. And he's then joined by Ojiro and Sato, two other characters whose names I have fully forgotten, because they are the most irrelevant and least focused on characters in this entire series, or at least within Class 1A. And yet now they're here to fight All For One alongside Deku. And it goes back to what I was mentioning before, Shigaraki's backstory, it was that nobody helped him. It was that everyone expected a hero to step in and save the day. And All Might's entire thing was, I will be the symbol of peace. I will be this number one hero that will hold up all of Hero Society. And that was a dumb plan, because once he broke, Hero Society kind of broke alongside with him, and the new world that's being created, the new world that seems to be hinted at in this series, is one where the heroes don't, fight by themselves, where they get more support, where the citizens, where the public view them as not these invulnerable gods standing above men, but rather as people, as living, breathing people who are literally putting their lives on the line and need whatever support they can get. So, yeah, Deku getting support from the most forgettable members of Class 1A makes so much sense here, and just feels so utterly appropriate for the message I think Horikoshi is trying to tell here. Especially because after that, Aizawa shows up, and oh my god, I love this man. As he has seemingly figured out a way to break through to Kurogiri and is working alongside him. I mean, there's two possibilities here. One is that, Aizawa managed to make through to his old friend, because, the portal does seem a bit white, and his friend's power was clouds, not smoke, so good sign there. But the other is that, his friend, or not necessarily his friend, but rather Kurogiri, his orders are very clear. Protect Shigaraki. And now Shigaraki's body has been stolen by All For One, and I'm not really sure how those orders are going to get processed in his mind. He's going to be like, okay, I need to protect Shigaraki, and therefore I need to kill All For One to do that? Or will he see All For One as Shigaraki because he's inside of Shigaraki's body? Two very interesting possibilities there. I don't know which one they're going to go for, though. Also, very importantly, if Aizawa was able to bring over Monoma with him through this portal, that means that All For One's quirk can be negated again, and that gives Deku a much, much better chance of actually taking this dude down, because, let's not forget, this is the Demon Lord. This is a man who has spent centuries mastering quirks inside of a semi-immortal body. That's bad. That is so overwhelmingly bad, and is a million times more dangerous than the Shigaraki that was fought back in UA, who even, when he had his quirk, didn't actually know how to use all of his quirks. So if Mona was able to show up and is able to actually block out some of those quirks, even if All For One is still able to use the weird hand molting thing, which is somehow not a quirk, rather based in physics, don't ask me how, then, that's a much closer fight. That's one that maybe they have an actual chance of winning, especially if they make the argument either that, All For One is taking time to adjust to his new body, or that Shigaraki and the users of One For All are inside of him fighting back, weakening him, blah, 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 blah. Either way, this might be a closer fight than I first thought, but yeah. Actually, before I finish the video, one more thing I want to mention, and that is the cover. I remember one thing, I love Dragon, so I love this, but what I just realized now while I was recording is that they all have patches on because this is also the popularity contest. This is the popularity poll. And I just absolutely love Bakugo, who isn't even bothering to show his patch, but just putting up one finger because, of course, he's number one. Who else would it be? I love it. I honestly love it because, seriously, I don't even think Horikoshi expected Bakugo to be more popular than Deku in, I think, every single poll that's ever come out since the series first started. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. So, just a great visual, great way of showing the results of the contest. Love that. But anyway, though, let me think down below. What do you think of All For One granting Shigaraki decay? Do you think it damages, the moral of the series, that Hero Society is flawed or broken? Or do you think it's just a great way of showing that All For One really freaking sucks, and that, everyone has circumstances that lead them to be villains, and maybe there's a way in the future for a new Hero Society to protect the young people more, to make sure that they don't grow up to become monsters, to make sure they don't fall down the wrong path, to make sure that they're protected and given a second chance. I mean, I really like that was the case. Who else is going to pop up in this battlefield? Because right now, we have, the absolute C-string characters whose names I didn't even bother memorizing because they are just so utterly and completely forgettable. Everyone else seems, very badly damaged. I mean, Bakugo literally just had open heart surgery. Uraraka, she just had, blood transfusion after almost bleeding to death. Shoto, very bad state with his family dealing with the whole Dabi thing. A lot of the main characters have been really badly wounded. I don't think they can actually show up here, but I don't know. I really don't know. And if we do have Aizawa back, please, for the love of all that is good and holy in this world, I want to see the Crawler from Vigilantes. Come on! The Crawler teaming up with Aizawa to help Deku fight All For One would be the greatest thing in this entire series. Okay, so admittedly, I like Vigilantes a lot, and I would just love the overlap, but, we'll see what happens. Let me think down below, and until next time, peace!